Welcome back, everybody. Hope you enjoyed last week's postscript. This week, we're talking about the future, specifically the problem with the future. Maybe I should say even, it's not so much the future has a problem, but we have a problem with the future because we have a tendency to try to control, predict, manage, and we take countless steps to ensure that the future does not present us with anything unexpected. But you and I both know that's not how life works. This last Sunday, I preached on the Israelites and their efforts to try to control the future by gathering up as much of the food as they could, because in the back of their mind, they still remembered being hungry. They remembered being in bondage in Egypt, and they desperately wanted food to eat, which God provided. Prior to that provision, however, they were getting restless. They were frustrated, just like any of us would be in that state. Despite the fact that they did not want to be in bondage and prayed and cried out for deliverance, now they were in the wilderness, free, but burdened with hunger. What I tried to do this last Sunday is talk about that as a common dilemma. In fact, we could say that it's a universal part of the human experience. This notion of being free and being burdened with that freedom. Jean-Paul Sartre, the famous existentialist philosopher, once said, "We are condemned to be free." I think Sartre was trying to pick up on the fact that freedom can be quite a burden sometimes. We would much rather somebody else make decisions for us and tell us what to do, despite our protest to the contrary. If we're honest with ourselves, there are many times in life when we're just tired of making decisions. On a more comedic level, we can think about how many times we've gone out to eat with a group of people and nobody wants to make a decision about where to go eat. And so you spend 30 minutes to an hour trying to figure out where to go eat. There is something about decision-making and choice which produces a kind of paralysis and frustration and a deep desire to have somebody else, somewhere else, make a decision for us. And yet, we are created as free and responsible beings. And as beings able to respond to situations, new situations, there is a necessity to have that freedom. The Israelites were finally free, and they were having to make choices that they wouldn't have been able to make before that. And yet, even in their freedom, they had a tendency to fall back to practices, to that fear of being hungry once again. Not wanting to go back to that place, they tried to hoard and gather all that they could, just like we try to fend off all the unexpected things. Just like we in our daily practices try to prevent things from catching us off guard. But life always catches us off guard, despite our efforts to keep that from happening. And those that did try to gather too much food that God had provided saw it rot and go to waste, because that was not the instruction. They were to gather as much as they needed for the day. And in saying that, you're probably hearing passages from the prayer of Jesus, which says, "Give us this day our daily bread." Not the bread for tomorrow or the bread for next year, but this day. I think we can substitute quite a few things for bread and understand the full import of this passage. You see, our problem with the future is that we can't control it. We can't predict it. We don't know exactly what it'll be like, and none of us are even promised the future. That can be difficult to sit with, but as people of faith, we are called to trust in that which exceeds our grasp, that which exceeds our ability to control and manage. And together as a community on this journey that is indeed uncertain, we are nevertheless promised care and accompaniment. As part of FSA, we strive to provide that care and that love and that compassion. Even though none of us can predict the future and we don't have answers about what tomorrow is going to look like or next year, what we do rest in is God's promise that this day will provide us with what we need for this day and that tomorrow there will be other worries that come up, as Jesus says. So I invite you to consider how you are using your freedom this week, how you are carrying that freedom. Does it feel heavy? Is it light? And if you have any questions or any feedback about what I've discussed today or what I said on Sunday, I invite you to share that. I'd love to engage and think more with you about this beautiful gift and burden of freedom. Thank you.